Hello and welcome to Quarantine 2020. I'm your stir crazy host, Justin Tyndall, and I have not done a podcast in a little bit because I can't really interview anybody. So we now have a state stay-at-home order for Florida, where I reside. A lot of other states have had it too. And I mean, either way, general practice, you don't want to be going outside and running around spreading this. It is April 2nd, 2020. And we are in the midst of a coronavirus pandemic across the world. Everyone is concerned about everything. A lot of people are losing jobs. We don't know how long it's going to last. A lot of us are shut down. People are worried about the economy. People are worried about their loved ones. It's chaos. So I really just wanted to hop on and talk. I have like 3 different scripts. Like I write out these massive scripts. I'm like, okay, well, I'll write this stuff down so I can talk about it. And then I put so much pressure on myself to make sure I've got, well, if I'm going to talk about this, I have to have the right sources. I got to find this resource. I got to find citations for this and make sure everything I know is going to be good. It's good information I'm spreading because people are listening. And I'm a perfectionist to the point where I will overthink a project to the point of never actually doing the project at all. So instead of having a project that I might think isn't as good as it could have been, there will be no project whatsoever. So I wrote 4 different scripts, like pages and pages of dialogue for me to talk to you guys about today. But then halfway through the 3rd one this morning, I said, what am I doing? This is a podcast about being able to be real and communicate about actual things going on, and what like human communication should not sound, canned or orchestrated. Like there's going to be some likes, there's going to be some ums, but you're going to know what I'm talking about is how I really feel about stuff. Or you're going to have awkward pauses like this where I don't know where I'm going to go because I kind of talked myself into a corner because there's not an outline for this one at all. But I guess I've noticed some things that I've been doing during this time of social isolation, which is such a terrible word for it. My good buddy John was the first one I saw use the words physical distancing instead of social distancing, because I mean it's kind of ironic too that like we're more connected than ever via social media and our devices, but yet as soon as we can't see each other, a lot of us just isolate hard. Like we're not talking to people. We're not communicating about how we feel. We're just getting depressed and sitting around alone at home sharing memes. And like I noticed this too during this outbreak especially, that whenever something, I'm gonna turn my phone off, that's rude. I'm a professional here, obviously. Whenever something affects a lot of people, whether it be like a well-known celebrity's death or a shooting, a tragedy, a pandemic, a lot of, at least my circle of friends on social media, they share a lot of like memes and gifs and funny things about it. And I think that's a very interesting way that we're all making jokes about this, but I think everyone who's making jokes about it, if they said that they weren't really concerned about what's going on, then they'd be lying. It's definitely a way, humor is definitely a way that we deal with tragedy or with coping with difficult things, for sure. I mean, it's rampant throughout, the first responder community, veterans. Like gallows humor is a very, very important part of being able to cope with adversity. So, on the one hand, I think it's positive that a lot of people are keeping a good attitude about it, but on the other hand, I'm worried about what those funny social media posts are hiding. I mean, if you look at people like Robin Williams is a perfect example, like someone who always focused on bringing joy to other people, but meanwhile was suffering silently. And it's not to say it's anyone else's fault around him that he may have just felt that's what he was only thing he could do. It's such a complicated issue, and I don't want to get into a deep talk about suicide right now. That's another reason it's been a while since I posted another episode. We had a very close friend of ours take his life suddenly and very sadly. And so while I definitely want to get an episode where I can talk about stuff not related to him, but it's related to my thoughts of suicidal ideations and then some of the suicides I've dealt with and seeing it just ravaging the veteran first responder community. I want to talk about that, but it's too close to home right now for me. I'll start writing about it, and then I'll just get really, really, really depressed, and I'll just jump on the Xbox or just find something to distract myself with. And it's talking about it's definitely a healthy part of me coping with things, but there's a time and place, and if I try to force it, it's going to do more harm than good. So I'm doing my best. I'm doing a lot better than I thought I would, considering how I've taken things that have happened in the past. But overall, with everything going on, it's like it's the virus that broke the camel's back. We've all got a lot of really stressful things happening, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we can't work, we can't see each other. Like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna stay in contact and get through this? So, we all have a good familiarity with all the fears that we have right now, but I want to talk about some of the cool stuff I've seen too. So things like Cards Against Humanity making an online version available. A lot of people, a lot of companies are making their games available to play like online, like card games, board games, stuff where you don't have to be in physical proximity to each other, but you can still have that kind of social interaction. A lot of my friends have been doing Zoom conference meetings to just talk, have a drink, hang out. There's viewing parties. You can watch stuff on social media together, watch stuff on Netflix, Hulu, different streaming services. I mean, there's a lot of really cool options. But I think that the most important thing, like whatever you choose to do to interact, just texting and reading is not the same as communicating. You can communicate. That's one form of communication, for sure. But it's not, there's so much nuance to hearing somebody's voice. There's a reason why I'm not writing this stuff and posting on Facebook right now, but I'm talking to you through a cheap microphone I bought from Amazon. Thank God for Amazon right now, right? Those are the real unsung heroes. But the point was, hearing another human's voice is an incredibly important thing. There have been so many times where I've been on 911 calls as a paramedic, and I've had patients who either have some kind of eye injury, or they can't see, or it's dark, or they don't know what's going on. Maybe they have a leg injury and they can't see what's happening, but they would just beg to have the reassurance that someone's there next to them. It's like, talk to me, don't leave me. So as long as I know you're there, then it gives them some kind of a hope. It's meaningful to people. And like, I like to use for instance, there have been many times I've been with my friends, and someone said something that I didn't think was funny, but other people in the group did. And as like that chorus of laughter works its way around to me, like I'll start laughing. It's still not funny, but just the joy that everyone else has experienced is so contagious. My body is like, all right, let's get in on it. And like, that's a really, really powerful thing, I think, to like I'm not going to see a bunch of people typing ha ha or LOL and then have that reaction. Like everyone knows that meme of Michael Scott from The Office, where it's like everyone that types out LOL really has this face, and it's just him just as bland, just resting bitch face as can be. That's not the same. Hearing people is important. So whether you're playing Xbox or PlayStation, you're in a party chat where you can hear other people talking. Whether you're doing a Zoom conference meeting where you can hear other people talking, I think that's such an important thing. There's so much more is conveyed through hearing the way someone says something than just the words they chose to say it. Inflection is a huge thing. There's so much cool nuance to the way humans communicate, and I think verbally is a lost art. Somebody calls me, if I get a phone call from a friend and they haven't texted me to give me a heads up, like my first instinct is, what are you doing? Who just calls me? Like, it's either an emergency or you don't understand how society works anymore. And like, that realization's super sad. Like, we have to give a heads up before we want to talk to somebody now. It's weird, right? Like, it seems really, really backwards. So I think that's part of the reason we feel so isolated now, is like you've taken away some of our ability to like read body language, and now we're just able to do verbal or just over the text, and like we're not good at communicating. So I feel like I've been just kind of shitting on the way we interact a lot more than I really wanted to, but like, I guess my point is, we shouldn't be feeling isolated right now. I mean, it's natural too, but there's definitely ways. Like, don't let it keep happening. Instead of just texting your friends, see if you can give them a call. Give them the preemptive text. Say, hey, It's cool if I call you. You got a few minutes because that is how it works now. Let's be honest. But use FaceTime. Use the Zoom audio conferences. Do stuff where you interact on more than just a word to word basis. Because I've been talking to friends that I haven't seen or really communicated with in years, and it's been nice. There are some days during all of this I have felt more socially connected than I have in years. And I think part of that too is us all kind of having this common enemy and realizing that we're all kind of coming together against this virus or this unseen enemy, so to speak. And I think having that united cause, for the most part, is a good thing. I think it kind of brings the tribe back together. It's so difficult to have a close-knit community when you have millions upon millions of people living in the same areas. But stuff like this does give me a little hope again that we can, when we really need to, we can come together. Now, there's a lot of people who are being jackasses and not following the social distancing stuff. And that's been the way that our government has been in different places, different states have been handling it, I'm super torn about it. Because I'm a very, very individual rights, individual liberty kind of person where I'm like, I don't want the government telling me what I can or can't do. If I want to smoke 16 packs of cigarettes a day, that's my right. As long as I'm not doing it around other people, as long as what I'm doing doesn't violate anyone else's rights, I don't think that you should be able to tell me what I can or can't do. But now that comes into, I don't like the idea of the state saying that private businesses can't be open. But on the flip side, with great liberty comes great responsibility. If we're going to have a free society where we can do whatever it is we really want to do, there needs to be a common understanding of, well, don't be dicks to each other. And so when you have situations like spring breakers all throughout Florida, running around, spreading fluids everywhere, contracting this virus, and having no concern for anybody else, at that point, you're kind of violating other people's rights to not get sick. That type of stuff, no word corner on that one. You don't have a right to not get sick. But if someone's doing something with the awareness that it may harm other people, then I feel like that is a violation of someone's right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. What they're doing is actively going to inhibit what you're doing, and they don't care. Is it time for the state to step in? I don't know. This is a hard one. The libertarian inside me is screaming. But, ultimately, I am also somebody that is very, very pro-vaccination. I don't want the state to say you absolutely have to have a vaccine if you are born in this state. But if you're going to use state resources, like public schools or anything that's state-funded, then the person should be vaccinated if they could be. It's not a perfect comparison to what's going on now because there's not a vaccination for COVID-19 yet. But I don't know. We're in some uncharted territory because while we have been through pandemics before, what was the last really, really legitimately bad pandemic? Was it the Spanish flu 100 years ago? Or are we going to count SARS and MERS? And it really seems like we didn't learn a whole lot from SARS and MERS. South Korea definitely did. They're killing it. But there's been some concerning responses from the CDC and the testing kits as a fiasco. But I'm going to start ranting about politics, and that is just not something I think I'm smart enough to be doing much of. But either way, so the point here is I've been trying to write a script to do a podcast for a long time. I've been getting a lot of really, really, really amazing feedback from everyone that's been reaching out to me. And it's really, really helped give me some purpose during this time where I'm not working, even my side jobs when I left fire departments. And I've been feeling very useless lately. So being able to communicate with people and getting feedback about how they're enjoying either this podcast or anything else that I'm doing, it helps me a lot. I've been talking to lots of different friends I haven't seen in a long time lately. It's been nice to reconnect with some of them. And so just thank you so much for everyone that's listening to this. And thank you so much for all my friends who are just awesome to me in general. I know I'm rambling, but I wanted to I wanted to break away from that perfectionist mantra that I've had for a while, which has been keeping me from producing more stuff like this and making me think that I'm not good enough to put out this kind of stuff. And so I decided, screw it, I'm just gonna freeball it. I'm just gonna start talking and see what happens. And I've been talking to myself for 15 minutes now. So I'm gonna stop. But anyway, I want to make sure that anyone knows if they're feeling isolated, if they want resources about work, if they need food, anything else like that, reach out to me. I have so many people throughout my tribe community and just friends and hospital networks. I have access, or I can at least guide you to a lot of different resources if you're feeling like that. Or if you just feel lonely, give me a call. You don't have to text me first. Just give me a call if you know me. For everybody else here that doesn't know me directly, hit me up on Facebook. My name is Justin Tyndall, or on Twitter, it's _Tyndall. I think is there an underscore? I don't know. There's either an underscore or there's not. I'm really not good at Twitter, but if you hit me up direct message, I promise you'll have somebody to talk to. So, all right. Well, for the time being, until I write 14 more scripts I throw away and start freeballing it again. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay healthy.